6 weeks ago, I got to see Metallica live for the first time. Absolutely overwhelming experience. I remember on the way in, we were on the crowded skywalk, and the crowd was all delayed trying to get in, and people were crushing in on each other, and the intensity just in the skywalk going into the concert. And all of a sudden, these young guys who were just stoked would start screaming at the top of their lungs, and it would flow like waves down the skywalk at the Saddle Dome. And I'm a little worried for my safety, but I'm thinking this is really cool what is playing out here. This huge energy, this huge metalhead kind of intensity. And once we got inside, and the moment drummer Lars Ulrich first hits the first skin, the place exploded. It was overwhelming. It was this young couple who were right beside us here. We were on the floor, right on the stage. So Lars is 6 feet away from me, and they've got the rotating stage. Very cool. But this young couple right here, going nuts the whole time. They were anticipating all the songs that were coming up. As soon as the first chord was struck, they were just sucked into the music. And this girl in particular, but both of them, but this girl was just the whole time, right? Like a major neck injury could possibly happen there. But she was more alive in those 2 hours than I think I'd been in the entire year leading up to that service. It was that real and that authentic. And for the next 2+ hours, Metallica did what Metallica does best. With mega volume, energy, and power, they preached their gospel. A message that, after reading the lyrics, has a lot to do with anger at the injustice that's playing out in our world, a lot of cynicism and doubt about the mass manipulation that's happening in our culture and the way that advertising shapes us and our Western culture is all messed up. You read songs that talk about despair and how broken things are in life and how maybe fading to black isn't just the best answer because things are so messed. And through their songs that night, some 17,000 souls got to resonate with those feelings deeply. Taking in Metallica's rage that night, I couldn't help but think, even standing there in the concert, old 42-year-old fart standing there with his arms closed while this girl's going nuts right beside him. And I couldn't help but think, as I listened to the tone of it all, that this sounds eerily familiar. So I went home and I read for a whole day every lyric of every song from Metallica and thought, this is very familiar. I started to see that, the vast majority of what Metallica is railing against are the same kind of things that we talk about Sunday after Sunday, God rails against. God was angry and is angry over a lot of the same things that Metallica is angry about. And you can't read the Bible, honestly, and not see that anger all over the place. This emotionally raging deity that sends plague after plague after plague down upon the people in the Exodus story, or an angel of death, which Metallica sings about in one of their songs. Acts of God. The earth breaks open and people are swallowed up. Fire comes down from heaven and consumes a whole bunch of folks. Now, God's anger is a lot different than Metallica's. It's not the same kind of anger. It's born out of God's perfection and God's holiness. That means He's totally other from us. It's a righteous anger. And maybe Metallica's anger isn't always righteous, but they're often, both of those guns are pointed at the same target. It was interesting this week. I read an article on the wrath of God, and one of the keys in understanding the word for wrath in the ancient Hebrew language is knowing that it is an emotional, feeling kind of wrath when they describe the anger of God. And I thought, doesn't that connect to Metallica? God, in a psalm poet's words, His anger flared a wild firestorm of havoc, an advanced guard of disease carrying angels to clear the ground, preparing the way before Him. He didn't spare those people. He let the plague rage through their lives. Metallica. Die by my hand, I creep across the land, killing firstborn man. Die by my hand, I creep across the land, killing firstborn man. God, through the prophet Amos, you wicked people, you twist justice, making it a bitter pill for the poor and the oppressed. Righteousness and fair play are meaningless fictions to you. Metallica and Justice for All. Justice is lost. Justice is raped. Justice is gone. Pull your strings. Justice is done. Seek no truth. Winning is all. Find it so grim, so true, so real. Jesus in the New Testament walks into the temple, and they've turned it into a business, and they're marketing the faith, and they're selling trinkets for the Passion Play, and they're selling God and spirituality. And he gets so mad, he goes in and he grabs the tables and starts to turn them over and say, this is not what God is about. This is not what church is about. It's about prayer, not about all this money laundering, greed stuff that you're doing. Metallica rails against a religion that only wants your money and is so cynical at the way they treat and manipulate people. Jesus slams the hypocrites, the Pharisees who try to manipulate the masses and put heavy burdens on them with their spiritual teachings. Calls them snakes, you brood of vipers. How will you escape being condemned to hell? Obviously angry. And Metallica, in Holier Than Thou, writes and asks, who are you? Where you been? Where you from? Gossip is burning on the tip of your tongue. You lie so much you believe yourself. Judge not, lest you be judged yourself. I was thinking this week, were you to put the lyrics, or were you to put the wrath of God to music? You know, if Mel Gibson were ever to do a film on the 10 plagues, and they were looking for a soundtrack, you got to think they'd go to a heavy metal band. They'd be phoning Lars up and saying, we got to get you doing a backtrack for this thing. Lots of anger. Lots of raging, brooding, in your face, rolling over you intense anger, both in the heart of God and in the hearts of Metallica and their lyrics. But there's a newness that comes with the presence of God that overwhelms and overshadows the dark, broken things of life and restores them. A God who, when you know Him, then teaches you how to get anger out in the righteous, healthy, world-changing way. To be indignant like He's indignant about the garbage that happens in our world. A God who says, I will now help you do this. Not sure that Mr. Hetfield is there. I haven't talked to him or anybody in the band. Not sure I'm there totally. Understand the mystery of God and how this all works. But you get the sense, reading all those lyrics, that He's looking. All kinds of songs with what seem to be prayers, yelling out to somebody, like this one in Fixer. Can you heal what Father's done, or fix this hole in a mother's son? Can you heal the broken worlds within? Can you strip away so that we can start again? Who's He talking to? Tell me. You heal what Father's done. Can you do that? Or cut this rope and let us run. Just when all seems fine and I'm pain-free and the fist gets raised, you jab another pin in me. Like this divine God who's just a voodoo kind of pin-jabbing reality. When I was at the concert, I remember the one song that was sung there called Nothing Else Matters. And all of a sudden, this place comes together as a community, and it was just really strange. You know, I saw guys putting their arms around their girlfriends, people sort of swaying back and forth, everybody joining in what I think is an anthem for the band Metallica. And they sing this, and I'm looking, I said to Fran, I said, this is church. I mean, look at all these people here. They're just, you know, community. They're drawn together. They're being together, singing this song. And I felt this heart in me, like, I don't know these people, but it was like a bit of God's heart, the new heart in me, feeling compassion and love for 17,000 people in this city who I don't know where they're at with God, but God loves so immensely.